Years of plunder, tearing down our world of wonder, treating us all like a jungle of fools, telling us lies, hearing our cries, killing our children. They have to die for what? For a squadron of gold. It's time to yell, cast off your spell, banish you all to
The Romantic Manifesto, written on March 12, 2002, with updates in 2006 and 2019, by Sidney Wildsmith. The Romantic Manifesto is dedicated to those on the planet who want peace. Premise: the real struggle on the planet is not between liberal and conservative. It is between romantics and anal retentives. This is where the psycho struggle has come. At this time in history, the anal retentives have control, for that is what anal retentives want. They need to control, and once having it, being anal retentive, they cannot let go, and the more people struggle to get out of their control, the tighter the grip. And the dilemma for a whole segment of humanity is that they are not inclined to want control. As a matter of fact, they celebrate and support differences, and then give control back to the analists who aggressively seize it. Look at what is happening in the world today. Now, this is a romantic's perspective. I look out and see in my mind's eye people around the world living in community, wanting love. But all around them are the analist brigades, the armed control forces, with their weapons of persuasion, guns, jackboots, clubs, wielding their power and control while the gentle people try to live a human life. The analyst brigades are all connected by a communications network, so that if anything should move out of the acceptable norm, forces can be brought in expeditiously to push them back into line, the party line. The communications end up at nodes, offices, command centers, local, state, and national and international police and military forces, each of which stands ready to act to regain control. If need be, forces can be brought in immediately to take back control, with guns, tear gas, clubs, water cannons, bullets, tanks, mortars, landmines, Scud missiles, bombs, heavy bombs, nuclear warheads. And yet humanity tries to live within this matrix. The analyst forces are run by individuals, mostly men, who were born with an analyst drive for control. They are those who have a native fear of humanity, and gentleness, and kindness, and peace, because it is just too organic. People living frighten them. They have never really liked the artists, because the artists are dangerously out of control. And yet whole segments of society run their life artistically, romantically, tolerating their neighbors, and trying to get along. The anal retentive network is interconnected with like-minded individuals. They like chains of command. They like following orders. They will do what they are told. And so they look upward along that chain to those who have more authority, those whose need for power and control are integrated into not only a way of life, but a means to life. These are the professionals. They make money out of control. And when we talk about money, we are talking about lots of money, for the analyst forces serve the economic analysts, namely the moneymongers. The moneymongers have built a system of control that permeates the world like the flow of blood through a system. Without money, you die. And it's not just the money, it's the time frame associated with money, that is, the monthly payment system. The entire world is now thrumming along with a 30-day payment plan. And as long as you fit within the 30-day payment plan, precisely fit in, you will probably be allowed to exist. But be late, and you are tainted. Reports begin to build about your credit. You become discredited when somewhere in your life you are 5 days late. These discrediting reports affect every aspect of your life. But the birds return in the spring and flow with the natural rhythms, and the farmers watch and wait for rain and gamble with the odds. And a poet writes because she must, because it is what life is about. But the landlord knocks because she is a day late on the rent. The Analyst Alliance, banks, government, military, has a long history. The kings and the counting houses, the communist system and its military centralized system, and more recently, the international bankers, the global government, and the global war on terrorism. The alliance is always the same. It is a unified force of control. But whereas, in the past, the romantic could hold dear a vision and dream that perhaps the world would restore peace and tolerance, or minimally, that one could escape, if one needed, the overreaching grip of the totalitarian system, that dream is drying up. The true romantics among us are dying. Our dreams and visions are disappearing to a vision of total economic and military control over every aspect of our lives. Now, I am not one to deny the benefits of a perceived system of security, national security, homeland security, etc. But I do question whether it is part of natural law to give such overreaching control to one system, which is in the process of denying the right for dissension, to discredit the romantics, and associate them psychologically with the enemy, and now the enemy of the world. Certainly, the need for and desire to stand strong against the control of the romantic perspective is unquestioned. But there is a caveat that must be defined, and that is that this stand must be aligned with the will of the people and must be administered through a democratic process. But that is likely not the reality today. The forces of control have a history of increasing extra-governmental action deemed necessary by the union of control freaks who have taken control of the government. In its simplest terms, it is an oligarchy, which is now uniting as a despotism on a global scale. The current oligarchs have had a relatively continuous alliance since the end of World War II. In the name of national security, many extra-governmental actions take place. Some have been monumental in nature, in challenging the romantic vision. The true romantic visionary leaders, John Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Robert Kennedy, have all been killed with various levels of involvement by the forces of control. Most recently, Bill Clinton, once a romantic leader, was targeted for destruction by a highly centralized and secret alliance of what now is referred to as the deep state. Leadership changes, but the deep state is now the foundational form of government created by master analysts. It is a usurpation of trust. It is a stealing of the global will for peace and prosperity. And unfortunately, the levels of power, the vested interest and centralization of economy and force, government on a global scale, are transcending human proportions and natural law, and soon will be immovably set, which is the objective of the Maximate analyst world view. A unique aspect of this struggle is that the romantic is not inclined or driven to war and force. They are not wired for centralization of control, and therefore have given away their natural power because they are not inclined to resist. However, if the romantics of the planet do not unite, stand up, speak out, and resist, this side of humanity will be removed one way or another forever from the human panoply of expression. The analyst forces backed up with extraordinary economic integration, control of information, and threats of force, real and perceived, are naturally driven to such. They thrive and feel good and see their lives as meaningful as they amalgamate more and more of the world's will under their control. They literally cannot help themselves. They will continue forever and will feel a near religious zeal, for they are naturally inclined to feel that having control is a sign of religious authority under the will of God, to create a one-world system under the authority of God, into a one-world system allied with God. But the dancers circle the sacred fires, and St. Francis of Assisi cradles the baby squirrel, and a boy and a girl flash glances, and an extended family of elephants keep watch on their young. A watchmaker strains through his loop to find the dust on the ruby, and two lovers swim together on a silken resin of passion. Their zeal to control the global arena is growing as it will forever, and now reaches more pervasively into society. Their fear-based sense of mission is the backdrop drama within which society lives. Their sense that they must seize ever more total and sophisticated management systems require them to centralize personal information in vast databanks on the populace, the quiet replacement of credit cards with smart cards, cities linked to centralized global information sources, and the ability to track the personal expressions of life, portend an increasing need to control key individuals, now crafted into an artificial intelligence all-seeing eye. You see, as the weight of management increases, the threat of collapse increases, and therefore the need to control the minutiae. And being inattentive, this need will never stop. As a matter of fact, it will continue to grow forever. We are witnessing such right now, and we must be aware. For a time will come, and it is already here, where people will be considered dangers to the stability of the massive system of centralization, and most dangerous are the romantics. We are witnessing on the earth the realization of a long experiment leading to centralization. Part of that experiment was the creation of a totally centralized form of government, namely the communist form. Few would disagree at this point that it was a truly totalitarian form. The experiment included a dramatic expression of anal retention in the form of Mao Zedong. During the Chinese Cultural Revolution, centralization was taken to inhuman levels. Romantics must never forget Mao's 100 Flowers speech, in which he encouraged the poets and writers and artists who had felt the fear of expression under the emerging state-controlled management to come forth to flower, for that would offer the best of the communist experiment. And so they did. They came out and began to express their ideas and forms, and they were like green flags amongst the red. Mao rounded them up and had them all executed or imprisoned. Let this lesson never be lost. The need for control changes by degree, as the elements to be controlled and the results of failure increase, and this is particularly so with the anal-retentive mindset. As the balancing act of nations and governments and massive armaments increases, the need to control even the small unexpecteds increases. Romantics and humans beware, for this need is increasing exponentially. George Bush's warning that you are either with us or against us needs to be taken quite seriously, for there is increasingly less tolerance of anything or anyone who threatens the great machine. We have seen the tentacles of control reach into places that before were considered out of bounds, but they have grown with a near zealot's sense of urgency. In America, an unknown number of unknown people have been kept in unknown places for top-secret reasons. 9/11 staged the basis to validate the need for homeland security, falling like a billion-pound slab of steel over our society. And the Romantics politely complain. Surveillance, snooping of every sort, background checks are now endemic in our society in the name of national security. Security devices scan at the area around our eyes to see if we are a potential terrorist, for stress is discernible around the eyes. Will we be subjected to searches when we have an argument with our wife? Is it time to pay attention? Has the absurd become the necessary? The analysts are now in control of an unending war against the evil forces, with near unlimited resources, promoted by an elite media matrix of elaborately paid propagandists who skillfully drive division, anxiety, and rage through an unending panoply of hopelessness and chaos that serve the ultimate analyst dream of total control. It would be useful and friendly and even romantic if perhaps we could have the right to know what the limits are, defined in legal terms if nothing else, to these extra governmental rights, or even if someone could give us an indication of what the theoretical or philosophical limits to this power are. And certainly it would be useful for us as Americans, who fought and died to protect our freedoms, to hear how this system of extra governmental control melds with our Constitution. To this end, let the American Cultural Revolution begin.
Red dawn in the morning. There's a red dawn